What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a good old look at the most expensive special rares in the One Piece TCG. They came around in the third set. We didn't get them in the first couple of sets, but ever since we had set number 3, ever since we had Pillars of Strength dropping, we have had these, and basically, as time has gone by, we have seen more and more of these just jump up. Just a quick note before we get rolling. There are 4 that are over $100 but didn't make it. The Monkey D. Dragon from O-Nami, which is honestly really surprising to me. I did not have that one pegged as being quite big. That's about $105, which is tied with a Luffy from OPO3, the Wanted Luffy, the first one, which is actually a little bit sad to me because this would have been the only card from OPO3 from Pillars of Strength that actually made it onto the list. But unfortunately, it didn't make it onto the list, so it's not the only one that made it on the list, because it didn't make it onto the list. As a side note, do please remember, we are only talking about English values here. We are not going to be having a chat about the Japanese values. They are a little bit different in places. The Charlotte Linlin from OP06 comes in at $110. Not the only one from OP06, I should add. And then we've got the Blackbeard Wanted poster from OP09 coming in at about $125. OP09 is crawling with good special rares that are all over this list. It is by far the one that is dominating this list, so don't worry, pretty little heads about it. We're going to chat plenty about OP09. But let's start off with the real number 10. For $145 roughly, we've got the Shanks, the Wanted Shanks from OP09. And we are going to see the OP09 effect as we go through this video. And essentially, like the Monkey the Dragon almost making the list. Like, that's absurd. But essentially, the reason here is that OP09 is such a big sought-after set that it makes the price of the set as a whole go up. Which means it makes the price of singles in the set go up. Which means that all of these are, frankly, a little more expensive than they might otherwise be. There we go. It's also Shanks, which is, very popular character, and this Shanks is a pretty playable card that sees play in a bunch of decks. There's other versions of the card, of course, but the point is here, coming in at number 10, $145. Now, we do have a real scrum down here near the bottom of the list, because in at number 9, we got the Rebecca from OP06 at $150. Like I say, the bottom part of this list really is, it's clumping together quite a bit. But what we've got from Rebecca here is, again, popular character. That does tend to be a little bit of a theme going on here, in that it tends to be a lot of more popular characters that end up on this list. But we've also got phenomenal artwork, and it's a Rebecca that's got blocker and lets you add a black character at a cost of 3 to 7 other than Rebecca from your trash to your hand, and then play a free cost or less from your hand. Black again, of course. And yeah, ridiculous card. You can see why it's on the list. In at number 8, we've got the Bonnie from OP08, the only one from OP08 that gets its way onto this list, coming in at about $155. And what we've got here with Bonnie is what we see from a bunch of the sets here, and that is, it's just the biggest card in a particular set. I adore the TCG from OP08. It's my personal favourite in the set. But the reality is, it's Bonnie because of popularity. Yes, we got a reprint of the one that came around in the starter deck and lets you search out your supernova characters, activate main, pay 1, rest this character, all of that. But a lot of this really just does come down to Bonnie being an exceptionally popular character, and that's essentially your answer. In at number 7, we got the Zoro Juro from OP09, and you're going to start seeing a bit of a theme here, and that is, it's either the big special rare from the set, or it is something from OP09, because Zoro Juro here, it's like the 4th best special rare from OP09. 5 of the 10 cards on this top 10 list are from OP09. That set is an absolute monster. And while these singles are also big, that is then only going to mean that the set as a whole becomes more sought after. And with the set being more sought after, that's going to keep popping the singles up and round we go. But it's that one whereby when attacking, if you've got 3 or fewer life cards, add a Don card from your Don deck active, good card, playable card. It is Zorro. It's Zorro Zero, but that's just a Wano Zorro. It's still Zorro. 3 swords, all of that. Even my 2-year-old knows how cool Zorro is. In at number 6, we've got O-Nami coming in for the one from OP07 at $160. There are 3 special rare Nami cards. This is the lowest one on the list. This is the lowest of the 3. It's also the only card from OP07, if anybody's wondering. It's the big one from OP07. And when I say popular characters affect this list, I really mean it. 3 of the top 6, half of the top 6 cards are Nami cards. They are all very popular characters. And, as much as I like Tashigi, it's one of my favourite special rares, Tashigi's never getting on this list. Not over characters like Bonnie and Nami. It's just never happening. This is the O-Nami that gives your leader or one of your characters banished for the turn. Pretty cool card, and it's got a nice trigger that KOs a 5 cost or less, popped up in a bunch of decks, but largely, it's a special rare Nami. Speaking of which, in at number 5, we've got the Nami from OP05. About $180 on this one. We've still only gone up 35 from number 10 to number 5. We're not going to see a really big jump, honestly, until we get up to number 1, which you may have already guessed what it is. We'll get there in a minute. But this is the Nami from OP05, and it is actually the only one from OP05, which of course is slightly surprising because on release, OP05 was just impossible to get hold of. It was a set that sold out absolutely everywhere, and yeah, apparently it's not that great for special rares now, except for the Nami at $180, which is quite big. Of course, do remember this is the OP01 Nami, which means we do have the awesome alternate art from OP01 that we could use instead, and I know a lot of people do prefer to. But this is your red generic Straw Hat Searcher. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck on play, find a Straw Hat crew of a Nami, add it to your hand, all of that. But the Nami effect here is very strong. In at number 4, the only card from OP04, we've got Boa Hancock at $185. Kind of love that the only card from OP05 came in at 5th and the only card from OP04 came in at number 4. Annoyingly, the only card from OP07 came in at number 6, which is kind of annoying. But then again, the only card from OP08 came in at number 8. This makes me quite happy. But we got the Boa Hancock from OP04. I actually pulled this one. This is the only one I pulled from OP04. I got it from a box that I was given as compensation for casting an event. I got this and Leader Queen. It was a very nice box. I'm not a huge fan of this art style from OP04. I do think the Boa Hancock is the best among them. But honestly, the main answer here is it's Boa Hancock and she's spectacularly popular. It is a very nice card that's got blocker and Don X1 when attacking or blocking. Draw a card if you've got 5 or fewer in your hand. So it is still a very nice card, but it's not the playability that gets it here. Please don't think it is. In at number 3, we've got the wanted Luffy from OP09 that comes in at $200. Yeah, the top 3 are all 200 or more. And this is not even the top card from OP09, incidentally. The number 1 card's from OP09, I'm sure you've guessed it by now. But this is the wanted Luffy poster. It is the highest of the Luffy wanted posters. And it's just your OP05 Gear 10 Luffy. Don -10, put all your characters up on the list at the bottom of your deck and then take an extra turn. Plus an activate main to get you an extra Don during your turn. Plus 12k is none too shabby. But really, it's the Luffy wanted poster. Luffy is always going to beat other cards. The manga Luffy are the highest. The wanted Luffy is higher than the rest of them. We could keep going. You get my point. In at number 2, we have another card from OP09. Yes, the top 3 are all OP09. It's the Boa Hancock. There are lots of patterns here. Another one is 2 of the top 4 are Boa Hancock. All the top 3 are OP09, 3 of the top 6 are Nami, 2 of the top 4 are Boa Hancock. There is a lot of repetition in this list. And once again, this Boa Hancock is pretty playable. On play, one of your opponent's characters other than Luffy cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next turn, and then bottom deck a 1 cost, or less. But honestly here, it's just Boa Hancock. In the same way the OP04 Boa Hancock was huge and very highly sought after, so is the OP09 Boa Hancock. So what wins? What comes in at number 1? What is the best special rare around? It's Nami. And it's actually not even close. TCG players currently got it about $320, and looking around other places, this does seem to be about right. $320. And look, it's a cool playable card, lets you trash a card with trigger from your hand to KO a 5 cost or less and then potentially draw a card, and it does the same thing as a trigger. But make no mistake about it, this is just Nami. But I've told you how Nami's kind of a big deal overall when we're looking at these kind of cards, and I've told you how OP09 has an effect which is basically bumping up all the OP09 cards. So then you take a Nami from OP09 and you go, oh, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. It's all coming together. So there we go. There's your top 10. The big takeaways here are Nami, Boa Hancock, and OP09. Especially since the Nami and Boa Hancock from OP09 are numbers 1 and 2. So there we go. And now I want to hear from you guys. Have you pulled any of these cards? I did actually pull the Nami from OP05, but it was in a Whatnot stream and I had to send it to somebody. But I did pull the Boa Hancock from OP04, so at least I pulled one of them and got to keep it. But now I want to hear from you guys. What have you pulled? What are you looking after? Which ones of these are your chase cards? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at Lawasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.